last year, Ryan Imel and his D&D minis have been taking over D&D content on TikTok and YouTube. Not only are the minis really cool, but the videos have some essential advice that can help any kind of DM. I've been lucky enough to get his time to figure out what all the minis are for and how someone can use them to improve their games. You've been growing a lot on TikTok. You've been one of the fastest growing like D&D niche content creators. Do you think it's part of like the style that you have? You have a very unique style.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. It's hard to say. I didn't really pay attention to a lot of this stuff before I just started, posting. It's probably that the angle that I have taken with a lot of stuff is almost treating them like, 30-second essays. It was mostly just voiceover and looking at minis, looking at terrain, looking at crafts and stuff I made. So I think that probably helped to make it stand out a little bit.
A key part of your videos is the the horde of minis that you have.
I've got a lot of minis.
Do you know how many minis you have exactly?
I don't. Some things you don't want to put a number to. It's like actually stating which one of your kids you love the most. No, look, it's been a slow growth. I started collecting them even before D&D because I was into board games, and board games sometimes have miniatures, and that kind of migrated into everything else. Yeah, before D&D, my wife and I were crazy into board games. We love them and used to play them a lot until we got into this new game, and now that takes up all of our game time. But I have somewhere it's in the hundreds of miniatures. It's definitely not in the thousands. Like there are other people with way bigger collections than I do.
You're still in the 3-figure rate.
If it's in the 4s, it's low. I don't think it's anything more, because I can just sort of visually, I'm like that. It's
like, guess how many gumballs are in this jar. It's like, guess how many minis are in these Target drawer containers.
Exactly. Looking at all the clear plastic, I'm guessing it's hundreds.
Somewhere in the hundreds, close to the 1,000.
Probably.
Last time I checked, I had 1,100 subscribers. Do you think you have more minis than I have subscribers?
Not after this video. How about that? There's no chance now.
You have this extensive collection of minis.
Yes.
Have you found that they improve the game?
So the thing that I try to always preface whenever I'm like talking about using terrain or minis, I always try to have something where I'm kind of prefacing that you don't need this to play the game. And I've certainly run games and sessions where that's not really played a role. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense for a session, but where it does really help is with new players, I think. And I really like introducing D&D to new players. Having terrain and miniatures can make a new D&D player feel a lot more comfortable. This feels kind of like I can see where everything is. I don't have to pretend or get lost and not know what everybody's talking about. So in that case, it really does help. Other times, I think it's fun, and use it if it's fun. For D&D, sometimes that visual representation, it could just be like, it could be on a whiteboard, or it could be drawing it out on paper in front. I mean, honestly, anything that is any effort to try to kind of make it easier to understand what's going on is kind of next level already. Like, you're not just sitting there with like a book in front of you and sort of restricting yourself to like yellow boxes of text and like, this is the game. It's like once you sort of break out of that, and especially this is sort of the next level above that, if you let the players sort of participate, maybe they help build out the dungeon rooms, and maybe they're actually, using more of it, at the table. That kind of stuff can be really interesting too.
So minis really help out with combat. Do you think that the minis help out with other aspects of the game, like exploration or roleplay?
Exploration with minis and terrain can actually be much harder than running combat. And you can do it, and I've done it to my detriment in terms of how much that can take. If you're running combat, you basically have to build a room, or you have to build a scenario, and once combat hits, you bring it out. Now that's like the event, that's what happens on a lot of the shows and stuff. If you're trying to use it for exploration, you now suddenly have to represent a whole lot more. You have to represent both what they can see and what they can't see. And some people do this really well with like long tables, and you see crazy dungeons laid out and stuff like that. It's so much more work to do something like that and to run a session like that.
How about roleplay?
I'd like to think that it helps. I know that I don't really care much for like painting minis unless I have a reason. Like, I don't paint them just to paint them. I have to have a purpose in my game, and the process of painting them, I find, is sort of like a character discovery process, right? Where I'm like, oh, I didn't even notice this little detail. I guess this character also has this. So I really like having minis for characters and enemies and NPCs and stuff that I introduce. I'd like to think it probably is similar for players. Hero Forge and like different tools that let you kind of design your heroes, that probably helps to some extent. But at the same time, is it the minis? It's really just any sort of visual representation. Even if they were just kind of stand-up cards for like NPCs where you go like, oh, that's what they look like. If they're going to be recurring and they're going to be around, I don't think it's necessary, but I think that's another one I'd fall back on. Like, especially for inexperienced players or really kind of visual players. I think it can make the difference.
Do you find that you think a little bit more
Yeah.
tactically when you're running with minis?
Probably, yeah. I mean, having physical representation. So if I'm in a situation with my players where, you know, we don't have access, or we're playing in a, you know, maybe it's either spur of the moment or something that wasn't prepared. I find that when it comes to more theater of the mind or even more kind of roughed out scenarios, I fall back into what's more of like a, if you ever played or looked at index card RPG, you know, note cards that are like the things that you can interact with. So like, here's a note card for the goblins that are attacking. Here's a note card for the door. Put your mini where you are, right? Like I think in a crunch without having the space to work with, I fall back into something more like that. Just tell me what you're doing. But yeah, once it becomes placement and stuff, it's like now I want to get elevation involved, and that plays a lot into it for sure. It's almost like another level of dungeon master education, where it's like if every combat you start with the monsters rushing into the room and it takes them around to get to anybody. If you don't get a little bit more creative with that, eventually you're gonna get really frustrated with probably your players mowing down a lot of your combats, because you have to start, okay, these monsters are going to surprise from this angle, and these are going to come in at this initiative, and they didn't see these ones coming. Like, you have to get a little bit more creative.
Are there any kind of non-fantasy minis that you'd be interested in?
The kind of games that I want to run, like the reason that I would even pick up, you know, Blades in the Dark, or like I said, like a space kind of themed. I think a far-flung kind of future setting would be really fun to do. I have ideas for that, and that sort of like kind of both sci-fi terrain and the minis that come with it could be really fun and really flexible. I think there's a lot of ways to use that. The idea for Blades in the Dark, my thought goes to almost like alternate kind of early 1900s kind of era, like
Turn of the Century.
Yeah. Well, and then the nice part is that there's a lot that I have that could cross over, but then a lot that I could do that would be brand new, that wouldn't fit in a medieval fantasy, but like still gonna be cobblestone, still gonna be stone buildings, and a lot of things will work. I think a more like kind of pulpy, piratey direction would be fun. That's another game that I want to do. I don't know, just something that maybe feels less stuck to a particular time frame, right? That could kind of happen a lot of different times. It's just these people live on the water. You know, these dates and times aren't important to them. Last one then for the list, because my list is growing lately. Superhero stuff, more modern. I haven't dabbled with any of them, but since I kind of just do homebrew stuff, like really kind of on the nose, like that's Spider-Man, that's whoever, like those minis don't really interest me, but it scratches an itch. Like I want to move in that direction. I haven't run across anything that would be like exactly the line of minis I would want to do, but it certainly is inspiring. And even saying this, I feel like if they don't already exist, then somebody is starting up the STL company somewhere where I'll find it tomorrow. Like, oh, look, this is like not DC or Marvel Heroes line of minis. It's right there.
What advice do you give to DMs that you don't normally hear online?
When it comes to minis, try to treat it more like impulse shopping or impulse acting. Like, just follow your inspiration. If you see something that's like, that's a really cool, whatever weird monster, go with it. Don't ever feel like you have to do stuff. You don't want it to be like work. Also, don't feel like you have to actually get everything painted to use them. I don't. Still, right? I have unpainted stuff always on the table. There's nothing wrong with that. It's still physical. It's still representative. And also, stop worrying so much about the quality of the paint job. The purpose is, and being inspired and just doing it is more important than the quality. There's always going to be somebody better, and online there's always going to be somebody really excited to point out what you're not doing right. If you love doing it, you will get better over time. It's going to happen. Just do the damn thing. The number one thing keeping everybody from having these collections and having cool stuff and painting and being creative is just being comfortable with being kind of bad. Is like the best thing you can do with this stuff, I think.
A final question.
Oh boy.
Do we have any future Ryan Imel content to look forward to in the future?
That is a great question.
No, I've been pestering you to make long content.
A lot, yes.
Months.
Yes. Probably what will come the soonest, though, is I want to take some of the short form kind of encounter and dungeon design and start making longer versions of it in a bigger format with more kind of talk around it. You can only kind of get so far with encounter designs with terrain and minis in 60 seconds, which is kind of my limit right now. It'd be fun to talk about those and expand on that, you know, over the course of 5 or 10 minutes. So that's probably what'll come next.
You're on social media. Where do people find you on social media?
The easiest place is my handle, RyanImelDM.com. It's just a link. It goes to my link tree with different places you can find me. You mentioned TikTok, also YouTube.
Thank you so much for doing this very impromptu.
Thanks for having me.